Hello there everybody, Assassini here and welcome back to the channel. So recently there's been several reports circling around, buzzing all over the Assassin's Creed community. This heavily rumored, basically confirmed remake of AC4 Black Flag. I mean, it's literally the worst hidden secret out there. And now that we know that Ubisoft is aiming for a March 2026 release, it means it's coming real soon, and it's essentially right around the corner. Black Flag is a fan favorite, one of Ubisoft's biggest hits, but honestly, I'm not someone who really thought it needed a remake. I always thought AC1 or the Ezio trilogy deserved a remake before Black Flag, especially considering the fact that this game still holds up to this day. However, since it's coming, in this video I wanted to go over my personal wish list. Everything I think would make this remake borderline perfect, while still respecting what made the OG so iconic. So yeah, let's get into it. One thing I really hope Ubisoft understands is that the stealth and parkour in the original Black Flag already worked quite well. Edward wasn't meant to move like Basim or Arno, and he just doesn't need to. I didn't really have anything to say against the Kenway series parkour. I mean, I liked it. It kept majority of the Ezio trilogy's parkour intact and just modernized the animations a little bit. So I really hope these guys keep that same weight, same flow, and that same style that made AC3, Rogue, and AC4's movement feel grounded. Now, I do want to make it clear that there are far more talented people than me when it comes to abusing the parkour to its limits in the series, so perhaps their opinion would be a lot more proficient than mine. I think I'm just a little scared of Ubisoft and change, because every time they've attempted changes in parkour, it hasn't really gone too well. Of course, until, well, recently. But that being said, a manual crouch button in 2026? Now that should be a no-brainer. It doesn't break the identity at all, and it would actually add to the stealth system in the game. This way, you would no longer have to hope that Edward could find some bush nearby before it's too late and you get detected. I think a parkour down button being implemented wouldn't hurt either. Similar to Unity and Syndicate, where they can perhaps fuse the crouch and this button together depending on the context it's being used in. Black box missions would also be a beautiful addition, similar to Unity, Syndicate, and now recently Mirage and Shadows as well. I'd love to see a variety of opportunities to assassinate targets, with special killing animations to reward you for doing so. This would add replayability to the game as well, as you might want to attempt several different ways to take down one target. Now, this is a remake. So obviously the first thing fans like us will expect is a massive graphical upgrade. So this would mean better water tech, better lighting, proper foliage density, next gen storm effects, realistic ship interiors, and most importantly, a world that feels alive. Look, Black Flag already had a beautiful art direction, so this section is less change it and more elevated. Honestly, the OG AC4 still holds up very well even to this day. I mean, come on, look at this, man, it's beautiful. There's no doubt that Ubisoft is most likely planning to reuse a lot of their Skull and Bones content, so I'm not too worried here. Skull and Bones looks like a pretty good game graphically. Gameplay wise, yeah, I'm just not gonna say much about it. The modern day sections. Now this is one area they can't just copy and paste. The modern day in AC4 was, let's just say, a product of its time. It wasn't engaging, it wasn't fun, and a lot of fans, including me, consider it one of the weakest in the franchise. For the remake, I'd want one of any three things. Either they make it genuinely fun with actual gameplay where you can fight people and perform parkour, or let us skip it entirely as a choice, or just remove it and keep the story solely focused on Edward. Either way, the remake needs a real solution here. Bro, let's just be real here. It was just so boring getting constantly interrupted throughout such a peak story to have to walk around with a stupid tablet and fix technical issues with your Animus system because nobody at Abstergo is capable of solving their own bugs. You couldn't even sprint, so you walked around like a snail while you were doing all this, and other times you were stuck with some Abstergo member in the elevator while they were yapping away about things you couldn't care less about. The biggest thing I looked forward to while playing the modern day story parts was when I'd finally be able to enter the Animus and play as Edward again. So yes, Ubisoft, please fix your modern day. Okay, I know what I'm about to say is going to sound kind of crazy, but I kind of hated the naval combat in Black Flag. Alright, I know, I realize some people loved it, and many could even argue that it was one of Black Flag's main features that made it so great, but I just found it pretty boring and repetitive. I'd even go as far as to say that I kinda enjoyed the game's tailing missions more than the times I was at sea. I don't know, maybe it was because I had to take down way too many big ass ships in my way to some main objective in the story, even though I just took down 30 other ones in my way just 20 minutes ago. However, I think the best way to fix this issue is to just use some of Skull and Bones' assets and gameplay to make it more dynamic, with faster cannon reload times, more ship types to keep it engaging, better enemy AI, more tools and gadgets that could be used on the Jackdaw, more boarding options, and maybe even an optional white flag or auto sail button for those who don't want every encounter to become a naval battle. Look, I don't want it completely removed, and I doubt Ubisoft would even consider doing that. Just improved enough that it keeps the fights at sea fresh and engaging. Ooh, this is where it gets kinda tricky. Look, Edward Kenway's story is already one of the best in the franchise. It's grounded, emotional, funny, tragic, and perfectly paced. This isn't the kind of game that needs a rewritten narrative. The characters were great, the balance of humor and deep emotion was perfect, and the pacing was relatively fine in my opinion. One thing I might consider altering if I was Ubisoft is perhaps the involvement of the Templar Grand Master in the story. In the original game, his presence is there, but he wasn't really a memorable character in the game. If they could somehow create more scenes with him, or change up his personality just a little bit, the story could get a lot better if done right. But if they can't do that, just give the cutscenes better animation, give the voice lines remastered audio, and leave it alone. The writing doesn't need fixing. I do fear that if Ubisoft tries touching the writing for the main story, the game would suffer way more than it could possibly benefit from. There's just too much risk compared to the reward they would get for doing so. Yeah, now if there is one area where the original game showed its age, it's probably the island content. While exploring the islands was fun, a lot of them felt copy and paste after a while. For the remake, I'd like if maybe they could add more side stories, something like AC Mirage's Tales of Baghdad. Add small narrative discoveries that actually reward players for exploring. Maybe more parkour friendly layouts instead of flat jungle corridors. Maybe more unique biomes across the Caribbean. And better wildlife, better treasure hunts, and more actual reason to step off the ship. Throughout my 3 full gameplays of the original game, I never really cared for the hunting or harpooning side content, simply because I just didn't find it too enjoyable, and because the rewards just weren't that special to go out of my way for. What I did play every time, however, was the assassination side missions where you'd work with the Brotherhood to assassinate targets that were going after one of the members because you as Edward sold information about him to the Templars and were now trying to make amends. The little side stories with each assassin character was great, and I hope they keep that content in the game. In fact, a couple more of those missions wouldn't hurt the game at all. I also don't think they should take out the harpooning or the hunting, by the way. I think they should just improve on it. So yeah, you guys can put away your pitchforks. There were also tons of little things in AC4 people complained about, and I think a remake is the perfect time to fix them. So I just sort of gathered a little list of them from stuff I've seen on the internet. Stuff like smoother transitions between ship and land, better combat hit detection, less repetitive assassination contracts, more diverse enemy archetypes, faster looting animations, more takedown animations, better UI and map clarity, and any performance optimization issues. Again, nothing major, just tightening the screws on an already great foundation. Finally, just some extra ideas I'm sure fans would appreciate are things like a photo mode with ocean weather controls, a hardcore realism mode for naval purists, dynamic storms that affect gameplay more dramatically, maybe a few new islands or optional regions to explore, maybe more environmental storytelling in abandoned forts and towns. Oh yeah, and of course, new Game Plus options as well. Can't forget that. So yeah, there it is. That's my full wish list for the upcoming, basically confirmed AC4 Black Flag remake. Now if Ubisoft plays it smart and focuses on refinement over reinvention, this could easily become one of the best remakes of the generation. However, they do still have to prove that they're capable of making good remakes in the first place, so let's just hope they come out on top here with a positive product. But I'm curious about you guys. Let me know what you want to see changed or improved in Black Flag in the comments below, and if you enjoyed the video, please make sure to like and subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.